Hey everybody, welcome to Upper Broadway Studio. My name is Trent. Today I'm just going to give you a very quick tour of the studio before I have to decommission it. It's kind of a bittersweet moment, really. I really wanted this to be more of a permanent foundation here in the Corpus Christi area. Unfortunately, I have some other plans in the work, so that's just not really going to pan out the way that I hoped that it would. With that being said, it's not necessarily a terrible thing, but it is something that, like I said, I really wish that I had more time to kind of do these things. But I do have a full-time job and I work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. So this is something that I do whenever I have some opportunity outside of my regular work hours. This is kind of, I guess you could say, like a passion project, a side project, but I'd really like to turn it into something full-time. So I have invested quite a bit of time and money to build up this small studio, and I'm proud of what I have here. I am. I've tried to source what I believe are some of the best materials that I could possibly put in a small studio and still get the best bang for the buck. Obviously, this isn't going to compete with studios that, spend, $100,000 on up, $1 million studios. This is not designed to compete with anything like that. This is, I guess you could say, more than what you would typically find in a home studio, especially during the COVID pandemic when everybody was home and was purchasing equipment to be able to do their studios at the house. What I have invested here is something that you would find probably between a really, really nice home studio and kind of a smaller professional studio. So this is, in my opinion, a professional studio. This is something that I could build out into something much larger than it is currently. But again, like I said, I have some irons in the fire as far as like probably relocating, and that's something that just isn't going to work out because where I want to go is about 3 hours away from here, and it just doesn't make sense to live 3 hours away and then try to drive 3 hours back to a studio. That's, anybody who has any kind of small business knows that that commute just won't work. 45 minutes, okay, I could see that, but 3 hours that's too much. So without further ado, I'm going to take you on a very quick live tour. When you first come into my studio here, the first thing that you're going to notice is my very wonderful and lovely, I was just sitting on that Lazy Boy couch. I bought that specifically for the studio, and I actually measured the amount of wall space that I had, and I wanted to make sure that this couch would fit specifically within that space. And I knew that I wanted Lazy Boy, and if anybody's ever owned a Lazy Boy, you know why. So coming through, I have I call it my wall of things. I have some desktop speakers up here that I was using as studio speakers, and then I learned after purchasing actually some very quality speakers. Bookshelf speakers, not the way to go. Just 100% not the way to go. If you're doing a small studio, well, I would say like a home studio, and you're on a very, very limited budget, sure, they'll probably work. And then you may just do like your mixing or whatever with some headphones on, and then kind of use the speakers as kind of a secondary, like, let's see if this really works or not kind of thing. But if you're trying to run something where you're actually going to charge money, yeah, these are for playtime, not work time. So kind of got things a little bit arranged here. I got me some headphones. These are not all of my headphones. These are just some of the boxes that I have up here in display. I got an effects pedal, microphone. I got pedals for the drum set, the double kick, more microphones. I got a lot of microphones. This is my tiny little grocery snack section right here. Hey, because when you're a big guy, you need some snacks. This right here, I love Zoom products. So for those of you that you kind of overlook the Zoom brand and you think, oh, well, they're no good. I've used a lot of different Zoom products over the years, and I really, really enjoy them. My Zoom ZV-1F mic, this is one of 2 or 3 that I have floating around in here somewhere. And of course, I'm a big fan of MXL, but here I have MXL 3000, 770, and I've got some Persona stuff. These are all MXLs, these are all MXLs, and then I've got Sterling. I'm a big fan of Sterling and MXL. They are lower end, I guess you could say, as far as like price wise. You're not going to spend a whole lot of money on them. It's not like buying a Newman or something along those lines. But if you don't have that kind of money, you could still get away with buying a $100 mic and doing really well. I like mics. That's all I can say. I really like microphones. I'm kind of odd like that, and I like to have a variety and an assortment. So that's what I've done. Moving right along, this is something that I have set up, but I haven't completely finished setting it up yet. That is a drum set that I bought from a company out of Germany called Thomann. It's the Millennium MPS 850. This is the head unit that comes with it. So as you can see, it's still not connected. As you can tell by this big gray beast behind me and a window here, this is my booth. And I built it where it was a foot shy of the ceiling. And the reason being is I needed some extra storage in here because this booth takes up a lot of space in here. I have that extra foot on top of my booth that I use as storage. It also kind of works a little bit as like sound dampening and things like that too. Picked up this window down at Home Depot, Lowe's, one of those for, I don't know, 50, 60 bucks. And then the booth itself is actually constructed out of 1/4-inch plywood, 4x8 sheets of 1/4-inch plywood, and then I have 2x4s framing them out, kind of like you would frame a wall, sort of, but not on 16-inch centers or anything like that because it's not load bearing. So I don't need to make this thing like extra sturdy. So 1/4-inch plywood, 2x4s, using as the framing, and then on the outside here, as you can see, I've got this wonderful gray carpeting that I bought. Underneath that is a furniture pad that comes in a very long roll. It's almost kind of like buying this sheet of carpet here. And the furniture padding is, I believe, 1/2 inch thick, something along those lines. And that's my insulation and padding, my sound absorption, I guess you could say, for the outside of the booth to keep sounds from traveling in. And you're thinking, well, this is not an acoustic window. And you're right. It's just a regular window that you could buy pretty much anywhere. It's not acoustically treated. Again, on a budget. I don't really have the money to buy a lot of really expensive things. So I just keep it open to keep a little bit of airflow going in there for whoever's in the booth because I don't have a ventilation system in there. I had planned on putting one in, but I couldn't find anything that didn't make noise. And it was, you could hear it. You could hear it in the noise floor of the recording, and it was really starting to get on my nerves. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to leave this window open. Whoever's in the recording, if they want it closed, they can have it closed. And then what I did is I just bought a little fan I put down there. So when we're in between sessions, if they want to hang out in the booth, they can just turn on the fan while we're not recording, and they'll pump some cold air in and keep them cooled off. Moving along, this is my workstation. The table is custom built by my friend Wayne. He's also the guitarist in my band, Flight of the Jams. And if you've seen on the Flight of the Jams YouTube channel, the very awesome guitarist, he also does woodworking, and he built this table for me. And I wanted it at a very specific size, and he was able to accommodate. He had some wood in his wood shop, and he put this together for me. This thing is super heavy duty. I could probably get 5 people to stand on this thing and it wouldn't even warp. So my monitor is hooked up to a computer that you can't quite see, but down there I have an Apple Mac Studio, and that is by far the most expensive thing that I've put into the studio is that Apple Mac. And you're thinking, you know, you could have got away with, you know, a PC or, you know, a Mac Mini or, you know, something along those lines. You know, you're right, but I wanted something that had a lot of processing power, a lot of RAM in there, and basically something that was like pretty much crash resistant. And the thing is that I've built PCs before in the past, and I don't care how good of components I put in there, it seems like I'm in the middle of a project and the stupid thing locks up and wants to crash, or a driver fails, or I can't get this to load, or I can't get that to load, or I got to reboot the whole thing, and it's just, you lose a lot of work. And I know some of y'all are like, well, I've had PCs for a long time and I've done a lot of studio work and I've never had any issues with it. And you know, if that's your case, hey, that's great. You know, your mileage may vary basically when it comes to PC. But on my Mac, I gotta be honest, I've never had a problem with it. The things that I buy, I research to make sure that they are Mac OS compatible. And when I hook them up, they just work. They just simply work. I don't have driver issues. I don't have plugins that fail to, you know, be compatible with my hardware. Everything that I have that connects to my Mac works. And that Mac is a freaking powerhouse. It's like, you know, basically having a Mac truck driving around and hauling a, you know, single axle trailer. You know, it's overkill for the job is basically what it is. But I wanted something that was gonna last a long time, that was basically over-engineered for what I wanted, because as the years go by and I want to spend more time and money into investing into the studio, I wanted a computer that would keep up with me. I didn't want to keep investing in new computers over time. One of the ways that I record is I kind of use a system of, this is another Zoom product. I told you I love Zoom products. This is the Zoom LiveTrack L20. This is one of 2 LiveTracks that I own. The L20 here in my studio, and then I have an L12, which is a smaller one that's in the Wayne's World studio. And you'll think, well, why do I have the bigger one here when I have less components hooked up to it? And honestly, it's because it has a few more features that are built into the channels themselves. The solo button, that's not a feature that's available on the L12. I like knowing that I have a lot of channels here that I can plug into and I can record. I don't record directly onto the computer. I don't have an audio interface with multiple channels that go straight into the computer. I'm not a fan of recording straight onto the computer. A lot of people are, and I know you're probably sitting there thinking, well, you know, you've got this great big massive computer, why don't you record everything straight onto it? That's just not how I like to do it on my workflow. My workflow is I record everything onto the Zoom. The preamps on those mic inputs, in my opinion, are some of the best that I've got for the money that I spent. I paid $700 for that board, and I think I have definitely gotten my money out of it. This board records like a dream, and I can add more and more channels to it. I can overdub. I can do all kinds of things in there. If you know how to work the board, you don't need the computer. But then what I do is when I'm done with all of it, I record then into the computer. And the program that I use is free. It's Audacity. I know a lot of people who are like, well, you could use Pro Tools, you could use Reaper, you could use Audacity, you could use, you know, Apple Logic, you know, because you have an Apple computer. One of these days, I may get into Apple Logic. I'm not entirely sure about that yet. It's something that I have thought of, but I don't know. And then my video editing, I use a program that's created by a company called Wondershare, I believe it is, and it's their Filmora. And I've been using that for a couple of years, and I really enjoy that for the video editing. And they've even come up with some really fantastic stuff. Some of their AI tools are just amazing. So whenever I go to edit this video in Filmora, any of the background noises and things like that, it's one click on the AI thing that it pretty much takes out. It's a denoise feature, takes it all out, and then for your voice alone, you could do an AI enhancement, and it really just, it pulls that noise floor way down, so you don't have all that extra garbage going on in the background. Especially for people that are headphone users, you're going to hear everything. So I really like the Filmora by Wondershare. I like Audacity. I've played with Reaper, I've played with Pro Tools. Pro Tools, in my opinion, was just like a paid version of Audacity. Yeah, it has some more features than Audacity, but Audacity's newest release actually has a lot of really interesting features in there. And you can put VSTs into it. So kind of carrying on a little bit more, if I could talk right. There's the window. I'm up here on the 5th floor. My suite is actually considered the 6th floor, but this is one of the buildings that was built, 70 years ago, somewhere in there. And it was bad luck to have a 3rd floor and a 13th floor. So this building, when you go in the elevator, there's no 3 and there's no 13. So it goes 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. So I'm technically on the 5th floor, because whenever you're outside, if you count the windows up and you can look inside my studio, I'm actually on the 5th floor. But being that on the 5th floor, that's a little bit of my view there. That's the American Bank Tower there that's downtown. And that's the Corpus Christi Bay, which is part of the Gulf of Mexico. And in the back a little bit, see if I can zoom in. There's structure that is right there. Sorry about the big finger shadow. That's a little bit of the old bridge, the harbor bridge. And that is the new bridge that they've been building that was supposed to have been completed 4 years ago and still isn't going to be ready for another 2 years. And that's just a little section of it. It's going to be one of the tallest bridges in the southern part of the US. All right, so that's the window, that's my view. I've got me a little Casio keyboard here. Again, nothing that I wanted to spend a ton of money on. This is the CT-X700, and this little keyboard, I've had it for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years now, something like that. When I had another little small studio space that was basically a bedroom in a house, I had this Casio in there. It's not a full 88 key keyboard, but then again, I don't really need anything like that. It's got 600 voices on there. It does all kinds of stuff. So I've got storage. I've got these little hooks that I set up on this wire storage rack, and I hang all my cables and everything, and they're all nice and neat and organized. I got all my XLRs, I got instrument cables, and it's a great place to put the cables. I mean, just right there on the side of that rack. And it makes it nice too, because when I'm working in the booth, I can just kind of reach out and grab. So one thing that I did to the booth here is I wanted to put a door, but I didn't want people getting claustrophobic. I was really terrified that people would come into my booth and say, oh my God, I can't work in there, because when you close the booth, it gets me. So I bought this. It's an acoustic panel, and it works really, really well. It's designed to go over like a bedroom door or something to help shield noise from traveling through the door. And I just have some spring-loaded clips up here that hold it in place while I have it folded up. And then whenever somebody's inside working in the booth, I just let those springs go, and this whole thing falls all the way to the floor, and it does a fantastic job of trapping noise. Now I'm in the booth. So I bought these panels. I ordered, I don't know how many, I think 150 blue and 150 black, if I remember correctly. And then hanging them, what I did is I bought like an adhesive spray, and I just sprayed the back of the panels. It kind of held them for the most part, but some of them it didn't want to hold just right. So then I got some glue that you put in a caulk gun. Some of these just have the adhesive spray, and some of them have the caulk adhesive and the spray both. And I just kind of mixed. So I've got like blue, and then black, and then blue. And then same thing with the top here. I've got blue over here, and then black up here. And if you're wondering why the ceiling looks a little bit different, the tiles started to fall. I came in here a couple of days after putting the tiles up, because whenever you do the tiles with that adhesive spray, you'll get really, really high. So I put this netting. I bought this net on Amazon. I think I paid like $10 or something, 10, 15 bucks for this net. I put up here, and I got me a staple gun, and I just started at one end and worked my way across. And my only reason being for it was if the tiles fell, they would just stop in the net. They wouldn't actually, I didn't want the tiles falling on people while they're recording. It's not like you're going to get hurt. I mean, the tiles are made out of foam. It's impossible to get hurt by them. So the net was just basically to catch them until I would have a chance to, like, you know, put them back in place. Oddly enough, I put the netting up here and all the tiles stayed. Like, none of them are falling down. But I left the net for just in case. So I'm like, well, you know, I'll just go ahead and keep it that way. You can see the wood trim. That's the 2x4s of all of my panels. And of course, I have a security system, so I have a little camera that I keep up there. So just in case somebody comes into my studio and I could be like, hey, what are you doing in there? This I found on Facebook Marketplace. This is a Radio Shack MPS 50. Just a typical little Fender Mustang V2, I think, something like that. So I got a little bit of lighting in here, stool. If you're wondering about the guitars, this is a Tajima bass guitar, and I put flat wounds on it. This is a guitar that actually is manufactured in Brazil, and I found that on Facebook Marketplace. I think I only paid like $200 for it. Those things normally go for anywhere from $300 to $500 on Reverb, depending. But the guy was, getting out of playing, and he wanted to sell it, and I really love the color of it, and it kind of has that fantastic Telecaster headstock, and then the Telecaster knobs, and I've always liked that look, and I thought that was really neat. And it's passive pickups, because I'm not a big fan of the active pickups. I'm just tired of replacing batteries all the time. And then over here, this is a Rogue fretless, another one that I bought on one of those deal of the day. I think I only paid $100 for the bass, something like that, and took it to my friend Wayne. He put the flat wounds on the Tajima, and then he put brand new strings on the Rogue and worked on the action, got it all set up right. And I tell you what, for a $100 bass, this thing actually sounds really, really good. And again, it's passive pickups, and it's got that that wonderful PJ setup. For vocals, I have this setup for right now. I have an MXL V250 microphone sitting on it. I swap it out for sometimes a MXL 3000, or I'll put a Sterling on it, and it just kind of depends on which Sterling that I decide I want to grab. I keep a little condenser mic in here, so I've got this little Sterling right here. Makes a wonderful little condenser / shotgun mic, especially whenever you're recording guitar. I kind of like to put this over here close to the headstock. It sounds great there. And then down here, I've got an MXL 990, if I remember correctly. And this one I keep this close to the sound port of the acoustic guitar. And between those two, the acoustic guitar sounds in this booth are just absolutely amazing. Like I said, sound does not really reverberate in here. It doesn't really escape. There's not a lot of extra sound that comes inside. So, and that's what I built this for, was kind of singer-songwriter type stuff. One other thing I kind of wanted to show, got my iPad here. This connects to that Zoom LiveTrack L20. So if you see, as I'm talking, my MXL over here, you can see that whenever I talk, my MXL is actually picking me up, and I can control all kinds of things through the app on the iPad to my Zoom. So I told you, don't do bookshelf speakers. These I purchased on Sweetwater. I got together with my my account manager. I told him what I was looking for, and he said, hey, how about check these out? I think these are well within your budget. They're big, I'm not gonna lie. My sound is connected through all kinds of stuff. Everything feeds into the board first. From the board, it feeds into this Ultralink, which is made by Behringer. Two units that I have on here, but I'm not using right now, is I have a virtualizer, and then I have this this DBX. It's a gate with a compensator. I bought them because I found both of them on Facebook Marketplace. I think the virtualizer I paid like $50 for it, and it's normally like a $300 or $400 deal. And the DBX, it's a 266 XS, and that one I think is normally like $250, $300, somewhere in there. And the guy sold it to me for 75 bucks, and it was basically brand new. It was still in the box. Again, on a budget. You'll find a lot of things on Facebook Marketplace. Pretty much all my components are connected to this Furman right here. This controls all of the electrical components that I don't want a surge getting a hold of. I just don't want juice running to everything in case there's like a big storm or something. Or if somebody in the building does something stupid, because like I said, this is a really old building and everything's pretty much wired together. I've noticed that a couple offices down, whenever they do something stupid, it's like my electricity in here surges. And because I have a lot of expensive gear in here, I didn't want anything frying. So that's why I went ahead and I hooked everything up to the Furman. One other last little thing here is that little white box right there that I'm trying to point at, but I'm not a weatherman. That's my internet. So I have T-Mobile, and I got T-Mobile's home internet. And basically they sent me the box and I just set it up there in the window, and where I'm at, I get a fantastic signal. I have the security cameras hooked up to it all the time. I've never had any downtime on it. So again, it's kind of one of those things. When you're on a budget, what do? You know, you want to buy some decent gear, right? But you don't have to buy like top of the line stuff. So that's my studio. This is my studio tour. It's been here for 10.5 months, and I'm just now getting around to this video. And the bad part about it is here in about 6 weeks, it's all going to be gone. Everything you've seen here is not going to be in here anymore. I don't see any reason on renewing the 1-year lease because they're actually talking about, instead of doing 1 year, because a new company bought the building, now they're trying to make everybody do minimum 3-year, and I don't want to be tied into a 3-year lease, especially if I'm going to move 3 hours away. So with that being said, if any of y'all are interested in an acoustic booth that's built like a tank, let me know. It's going to take up some space. It's 8 feet long, it's 4 feet wide, and 7 feet tall. If you're willing to come and disassemble it, I will just give it to you, because otherwise I'm going to have to pay somebody from a moving company to come in here and disassemble it and move it out for me. I don't want to spend more money on that, because when they go to move it, I don't have anywhere else to put it. I have a storage unit here in town, but all the other stuff that's in here is going to end up in storage or end up in my apartment. So I don't have space for this. I just don't have any space for it at all. I really wish that I did. I mean, I love this booth. As you can see, I mean, I put a lot into it. This is a good hearty deal. So if nothing else, if you're just looking for some good wood, I mean, just like I said, come on down, disassemble it, take it. My desk is going to go over to my apartment. My couch, oh gosh, I don't even know what I'm going to do with my couch right now. All right, so thank you for joining me on the tour. I don't know how long this video is going to be when I'm done editing it. If you watch it all the way through the end, as you know, one thing that would be wonderful is if you were to subscribe and like, but especially subscribe. Tell your friends and everything about this. One thing that I want to do as this channel starts to grow, and obviously we're at the very, very, very beginning right now, but as this channel starts to grow, one thing that I want to do is, it's always been a dream of mine to do a lot of different philanthropical things within the music community. And what I mean by that is I have a drum set that's sitting in Wayne's World that basically all I just need to do is put drum heads on it, and then I'm going to give it away to somebody. I want to do stuff like that. I have a whole bunch of snares in my storage that I'm going to clean them all up, and probably at least half of them do the same thing. I'm going to give them away. And I want to be able to set up some music foundations that, you know, will find people that are looking for things, communities and stuff like that, that need musical instruments and musical equipment. And if they don't mind taking some secondhand stuff, then that's exactly what I want to do. I like finding things on the marketplace, on Craigslist, in various places online. And I want to be able to purchase these things, make sure that they work, and then just give them away. So that's my thing is, you know, I like finding this equipment that is secondhand, it's used, it's still in good shape, it can be refurbished, it can be repaired, and then somebody can play it, they can get some time out of it. And so that's the thing, is that I want to be able to get these instruments, do the work on them, but like I said, I'm not going to buy them brand new. I'm going to buy them secondhand, I'm going to buy them used. And then that way, you know, we extend some life out of them. Somebody else gets to enjoy them for a while. And who knows, maybe after a while they're like, hey, I'm going to kick this down the road to the next person that wants to play on it. So that's one thing that I want to be able to do with this channel is the money that I make, I want to be able to put into stuff like that. I want to be able to do free studio session time. And one of the reasons being is, like I said, this is my passion project. This is something that I do on the side for fun. My Monday through Friday job pays the bills, and then this one provides me joy. I mean, the other job is decent and all, but this is where I find my happiness. So that's why I've created the studio. That's why I've created the channel. So if you could, you know, tell people about it, that'd really help me out a lot. So with that being said, I'm gonna edit this video, and then you're gonna watch it, hopefully, and subscribe. Like I said, tell your friends, tell your family, tell anybody that you can about it. I want to set up some music programs. That's the ultimate end goal here. Again, my name is Trent, and this is, as my banner back here says, that's a little too wide for the wall, that's why it's not hanging. This is Upper Broadway Studio. Peace out till next time.